Right, this is going to be a follow-up from what seemed to be a very, very popular video, over 100,000 views on my main channel, about the fact that a lifetime of drinking has affected my health. This is some context to how I ended up in this state, how I never saw the signs, or maybe ignored the signs, what some of the signs were, and also none of this is an excuse, by the way, nothing, right? I don't make any, right? But this is some of the things that made me excuse myself, or people that told me that I didn't have a problem, and the reasons. So this is all to give you some help, by the way, if you're setting out on a lifetime of drinking. Maybe might calm you down, or if you've done a lifetime of drinking and you still haven't seen the signs, or if you're debating, or whatever. Basically, take that out of this what you will. So, when did I start drinking? Well, I came from a family who, my parents weren't big drinkers. My dad certainly wasn't. I'd seen him tipsy twice in my life. On one of those, I got him tipsy. So, my mother, she would have a drink. She could hold her drink. You never knew that she'd had a drink. So, growing up, she might have had a few rums, but generally speaking, towards the end of her life, she would drink quite a bit more. Now, my family on both sides had their heavy, well, alcoholics functioning, right? And also on both sides of my family, this is a nightmare of a junction to get out, were bipolar. What you would have called in the old days manic depression, and certainly a condition that was, I feel like a meerkat here, certainly a condition that was handled by alcohol. A lot of people couldn't talk about their problems back then. It just wasn't the thing. You'd bottle a load up and you'd go and you'd use the alcohol to relieve the pressure. Wasn't the way, or isn't the way to do it, but nevertheless, I've done it. Lots of people have done it. People who came back from wars and stuff like that, the way they dealt with it, some of them was that. And just genuinely, people like to release. People like to have a laugh, and they used alcohol with it. Now, alcohol being a Class A drug, which it is, if it was put back out on the market now afresh and had never been used before, it'd be banned immediately. But there is way too much money to be made out of it, and so it stays. So when did I start drinking? Fucking hell. I was minesweeping in weddings as soon as I could, as young as I can remember. If you don't know what minesweeping is, that's going around and finding somebody else's drink and nicking it. All right, it's just one of them, and people do it in nightclubs. And then obviously when I was 15, I would start drinking then, and it's gone from there. Now, there was a brief period around sort of 17, 18 that I didn't drink because I was just out in the car the whole time, flat out. And then I started to drink. Then I really got into nightclubs, and that went to pubs. And then I started to do stupid shit like drink drive, because I was dealing with bipolar I didn't know I had. Because my generation back then and generations before didn't know about bipolar, generally speaking. I mean, I came from the generation still where they didn't work out that I was dyslexic in school. He was just bright and could do better. Lazy, I think was the one he used as. But anyway, and in the same way that manic depression went on to be called bipolar, I didn't know fuck all about that. And I didn't really talk about my problems anyway, I just got on with it. So I didn't know I was that. But I used alcohol for fun, for confidence, many of you probably done that, and also to try and feel happier. When I was down, I'd go out and have a laugh with my friends, and this became a habit. And I was very popular out on the nightclub scene, if you want. I had a lot of friends out there, we'd meet up every night, we'd have a laugh. There was all sorts going on, and alcohol was right in the middle of it, so it just seemed normal. Everybody else was doing it. But while everybody else could have 2 or 3 pints, once I got started, I wanted to get as many down me as possible. It wasn't about feeling manly, I just liked the effect and wanted more. And this then became a bit of a scene. But before I did drugs, and I had a brief interlude of drugs for about, I don't know, about a month and a half, 2 months, which changed my life. And I have to say positively, but for most people it won't, so don't do drugs, all right? And I'll explain the reason why it worked for me, but this is different for everybody, so I'm saying don't do drugs. What I do is I had a lot of pent-up issues, and when I drank I got angry and fight, and so I went and got given some Gurners. Now most of you know what Gurners are, little ones. I can't really talk the exact name on here because it's not very pro that, but you get the idea. They make you very happy and loving, all right? Well, when I did those, I realised there was all this love in me, which I didn't think there was there, right? And it was pouring out. And I realised the problem wasn't with me, but I never went back to being violent again, not just drinking. So it was positive. Now, as time went on, I didn't just drink in the nightclubs. I would then take beer out with me and drink out and about. And I became what you would probably call an alcoholic. In fact, I must have been. I can't think of any other way of putting it. Although people would have said he's not, they just said that he's out every night because I was young. I got done for drink driving, not once, 4 times. Now, to anybody normal, that would have been a sign. But the people I was around didn't think I was an alcoholic, just thought I was a dick. And I was a dick, right? No bones about that. But I went to alcohol and crime rehabilitation. That worked. Not. Mind you, the people that were given the course, I felt they would be what I would call nowadays hippie lefties, and I couldn't relate to them at all. But the one thing they did say that was true, and I should have taken note and I didn't, was that alcohol, to be an alcoholic, doesn't mean that you drink every day. It doesn't mean that you've got to have 10 pints. Basically, the thing is with being an alcoholic is if it affects your life or your health or anything about your daily grind in a negative way. That's pretty broad sweeping. So basically, does it make you have days off work? Does it affect your physical health? Does it affect your mental health? Does it affect your relationships? If you're drinking and it's affecting you negatively and you can't stop the drinking, you have a drink problem. Now, my generation drank a lot, all right? And the generations after generally went over to recreational drugs. And that sort of killed the pubs. But as I went on and I stopped nightclubbing, you would drink at home. Or you would drink at barbecues with friends. Or you would drink at house parties. Or you'd drink alone. But I drank at home when I had a partner, but not when I was single. Work out that what you will. However, the very fact that I've drank heavily all my life, and certainly when I go out with friends, if I have one, I want 10 or more, and I have done a lot. And the fact that I can handle huge amounts of alcohol without looking pissed states I've probably got a problem anyway. I've definitely got a problem. Now, the point, or the more important point of this is there are going to be lots of people around you, if you're a drinker, that are going to tell you you do not have a problem. There's a number of reasons for this. One of them is they've got a problem. And their problem might be a lot worse than yours. So for them to admit you've got a problem would then make them have to admit they've got a problem, and there is no chance in hell they want to do this. There is a saying that there's none so blind as them that won't see, or something like that. And it's true. When you surround yourself with heavy drinkers, some of them don't just drink heavily in front of you, right? They'll then go home and drink a load, right? Some of them have been drinking heavily every day for most of their life, have no ambitions of changing, and certainly don't want to be reminded of the fact they've got a drink problem. So you, with less of a drink problem, popping out and saying a thing like a drink problem, they're going to go, no you haven't, and that's it. Now, I was surrounded by a lot of people who were much heavier drinkers than me, much longer drinkers than me, okay, and not one of them would want to admit that I had a problem, because, nah, you don't drink anywhere near as much as me, and I'm all right. So that's one of the problems. Then you've got the teetotalers, or the nearly teetotalers, that tell you you've got a problem. And your excuse with them is, well, they're just boring bastards, right? That's the first one. Or they don't drink, they don't know what they're on about, they're uptight. They just don't want me to drink because they don't like drinking. So you can categorise them and fuck them off into a box so you haven't got to take any notice of them. Now, your other alcoholic friends, they'll tell you you've got no problem, so you put them in a box. So at the moment, we're thinking that we don't have a problem. We're lying to ourselves, right? Then you've got the medical problems that start arising. Well, every one of them must be due to something else. Say, for instance, me, I was thinking that I was low on testosterone, and that if I just got myself some testosterone, that would fix the problems. But that's not the case, right? Or it seems that's not the case now. And then you've got things like the itchy skin. Oh, well, I had eczema when I was a kid. Must be that coming back. No, actually, it's a liver problem. Sorry, a kidney's problematically. And then you've got other things like the vision going blurry occasionally, and then not most of the time, but whatever. But that must be my age, is it? And then all the other medical things, which I'm not going to bore you with now, but there are so many things that equate to drink abuse. And the thing is, I love drinking. I'm not going to say I don't, because I'd be an absolute lying bastard. I fucking love it, right? There is nothing more I like than sat around with a few mates, getting stuck into a few pints and having the crack. There it is. For me, almost no better feeling. Or it's right up there. Obviously, getting laid's quite a nice one, and adrenaline is great. So, say for instance, going fast on a motorbike and fast in a car, or doing something that's adrenaline, that's great, right? But for me, drinking, now, here's the other one. I've used drink as a crutch all of my life. Feeling miserable or depression, have a drink. Jumping off the ceiling because your bipolar's high and you've gone up, have a drink. Unsure about a situation, have a drink. Not feeling too good about going out, have a drink. Out with friends, bit nervous, have a drink. Going on a date, have a drink. Daughter's about to be born, got to go in the hospital and watch this, don't fancy that, have a drink first. Now, I'm not saying I would drink to the point that I'd look like I'd had a drink. Most people would never know when I would get and do that, right? But I've used alcohol as a crutch to such an extent that I'm actually scared of the future. You might think that's weird, but if you imagine you were one of these people that you would go everywhere with your best mate, because your best mate, if you were nervous, you could bounce off that best mate, you could ask that best mate, you could use that best mate for advice or whatever. You know, like Starsky and Hutch, all that kind of stuff, right? They went everywhere together, right? Boney and Dawn, that kind of stuff, right? And as a pair, they worked really well. Well, that's how alcohol, I felt, worked for me, right? Now, this is the point. If I had an intense moment that I had to face, a bit like when I used to go on these demonstrations, the fact of meeting all of those people terrified me. So I used to have what some of you subscribers might remember as a fizzy coffee. I'd have one of these coffee mugs, thermos things that you could buy, right? And I'd fill it up with Thatchers. I'd have a few of them first, and then I could cope with the situation. I haven't got that now. Going out with people so you're on the same level as them, because being around people who are drunk when you're sober is excruciating. It just is. Dealing with anxiety, which I have a few drinks, anxiety goes away. Great, I can't do that now. I was using it, and it's stupid, I was using it a couple of pints before I got on the bike. Oh, you go, that's fucking stupid. When you got all the chatter in your head, which you do, which I have, it shut that lot down. And it felt like you could concentrate more. So now I've got to rework the way I work on the bike. And pretty much every other thing that I would use alcohol for, which is massive, I've got to rework my life. Now I've done, well, 35 years of my life with that stuff, right? And I've got to try and work out now how to do the rest of my life on my own, because that's how it feels. Right now, there's many of you that have gone through this and come out the other side, and you'll tell me that it's fine, and I know it will be. But just at the moment, it's a bit like splitting up with somebody you thought a lot of and you relied on a lot. All right. Yeah, you're just wondering, how am I going to cope with that? Right. But that's where I am. But the whole point of this channel is called Man Up. All right. Now, as a man, I have to man up about this, but this just doesn't apply to men. This is a man and woman thing, right? Now, we can go into a cultural thing. One thing I didn't realise is, say for instance, the Sikh fraternity have a massive problem with alcoholism, was originally with men and now with women, because a part of their growing up is with alcohol. Didn't know that. The Western world uses alcohol, different countries use it in different ways. So the French will, and the Italians will drink with their food. But I think in many cases that a lot of them learn from a very young age to drink responsibly with their meal, and that's it. That maybe they can handle their alcohol better, I don't know. In places like Poland, there's massive alcohol problems in Russia. Fucking huge alcohol problems in Russia. I don't know what the crack is for America. And funnily enough, living in England, I don't know what the statistics are, but I just know that drinking is part of our culture. Drinking has been about for hundreds of years. Now, there are some that say there is a something that's good for your health, taking a drink a day, all right? But then a doctor would refuse that, saying that the alcohol that then goes into your, I can't remember whether it's your liver or kidneys, right, gets temporarily turned into something quite toxic before it gets turned back into, and I can't remember what the other chemical is, which isn't toxic. I don't have all the stats because obviously I'm driving a truck at the moment, but you get the idea. There is at no point, I mean, it's like me saying to you, why don't you just have a pint of screen wash a day? That's not healthy, screen washing, nor is alcohol, but we love it, right? Now, when your kidneys, I think it's your kidneys are overwhelmed, right, which doesn't take much, by the way, that's when you start to experience the feeling of being tipsy. The actual experience that we want, that's when they're overloaded and they can't get rid of the toxins quick enough, from what I understand. So it's mad, really, and when you actually look at the mechanics of it, it's pretty fucking barbaric. So it's better not to look, and I never did. And I'm not going to go through too much with you now. But what I want you to think to yourself is this: do I have any medical issues that are down to drink? Have I lost more than one relationship due to alcohol? Have I taken loads of sick days off over the course of my life that I wouldn't have taken off had I not been pissed with a hangover? Have I lost my license once or more because of alcohol? Have I got into situations that I wouldn't have done had I not been pissed? Have I had fights that I wouldn't have had I not been pissed? Have I said stuff to people that I wished I hadn't? Have I upset people or family through my alcohol or my actions? Now, I can say yes to all of that, by the way. And yet again, you'd probably say, well, you should have fucking stopped drinking. That's easy to say if you're not an addict. Now, everybody assumes, as I did, that to be an addict, you have to be drinking every day and can't live without it. Well, that's not true, all right? I haven't had a drink for almost 2 weeks now, I think. Hang on, where are we? No, a bit less than that. And I haven't clucked once for a drink. But if you stop 2 pints down me, I then want another 10, right? Now, there are people like me out there, and people will go, he's not an alcoholic, he just likes to drink. No, he's an alcoholic because he can't moderate his drink. He can't just go and have 2. He wants to do the fucking pub. That's the problem. So alcoholics come in very many forms, all right? And if I were you, if you think that drinking is a problem, right, I'm not telling you to start, stop, give up, or do whatever. I'm just telling you what it's done to me, right? Because you're a grown-up if you're watching this, you probably would be, and you can do your own life, and I'm certainly not here to fucking lecture, right? I mean, it's one of those things that there's many people that you'll see in life that you don't realise have got a drink problem. There's a thing called a functioning alcoholic, and there's different levels of it. There's the guy that can go home and have 6 pints every night, get up for work normally, not be affected by a hangover, and carry on, rinse and repeat, all right? There's the guy that doesn't drink very often, but when he does, ends up fucking up and ends up in a prison cell or whatever. He's one of them. There's people that can go out every weekend and get absolutely fucking lauded, then go back to work all week and it'd be fine, right? There's varying measures. Now, you might be none of them, right? Or you might be, I don't know, somebody as young as maybe, I don't know, 18 or 20 watching this that's smashing the ass out of it at the moment, thinking, well, I'm all right because I'm young and I can handle it. Yeah, I thought that. But whereas your body might be able to handle it better and it might not, I don't know, right? Your mind certainly won't be as grown up as somebody who's been through the experience and fucked up numerous times. Because I can tell you, when I was 18, I thought I was immortal. And then when you add alcohol to that, I really did think I was immortal. And I did some crazy things. And how I'm not dead today from car accidents and other stupid shit, I will never know. All right? I am lucky. I'm there by the grace of God. And I mean that, right? But all I am saying is that before you get to a stage where things are too far, right, as I said in my other video, look at your life and just say, has my life been impacted in a negative sense through alcohol? If it hasn't, great. Seriously, I mean that, right? Now, then look at how much you consume, right? And if it's not much at all, and you hardly ever drink, fine. But if you do drink a fair bit, right, just have a think about getting a full blood test and then get them to print the results out and have a look for yourself. Now, if everything's okay, all right, great. But apparently, the percentage of people that are wandering around with either liver or kidney problems that don't know it is absolutely off the chart. I mean, it's like 9 out of 10 people have got some sort of thing wrong. And you're like, really? Now, that's not all down to alcohol, as I explained in my last video. Moreover, it used to be called alcoholic fatty liver disease, I think it was, something like that. But now, because of our lifestyles, eating so much junk food, shit, saturated this, and fucking all the rest of the crap that they make for us, your McDonald's, your fast food, your stuff straight out of the freezer, your sugary drinks, and all the other bullshit, right? We now have a thing called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and I think they've got another name for it because that's just too much of a mouthful. So, even if you're not a drinker, because I've just spoken to my daughter, right, over the weekend, because she is prone. So, I had a word with her and her mother, and she's going to go off and get a blood test. Now, whereas I've got my fingers crossed there's nothing wrong, I am a realist and think there could be. But if she gets to it now, there is a chance that she won't end up going type 2 diabetes, etc., because once you get to that, you don't want that, right? I've got friends who are people who drank a lot and have ended up with type 2 diabetes. I've got a friend at the moment who is drinking every day, and he's already told that he's on the cusp of type 2 diabetes, and he's just flat out still. And I said to him, are you serious? I mean, you're not thought about, it's what it is, isn't it? And I'm like, okay. But there's some people that you can't help, and there's some people that you can't tell. You know, those people walk away from it because you're just wasting your time, and your time's precious. But this is a video just stating how I fucked up, and whether you can see some of that maybe possibly in yourself. I go, I thought about that. But there's so many people that want to tell you you're an alcoholic or you've got a drink problem, and there's so many people on the other side who also drink that tell you you don't. And it gets confusing. And it's easier to bury your head in the sand because it's good fun. And it is. But all I'm saying is, have a blood test, get the results back, and if everything's great, you do you. But what I'm saying is, chances are you could get the results back and you'd be surprised. And at this point, you might be able to do something about it to fix it. Now, I'm not saying stay off alcohol for the rest of your life or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all. Right? For me personally, I'm going to try and do 6 months because I've had all of these side effects for so long. I've taken them as normal. Right? I don't know how my life is going to be 6 months down the road where the liver's had a chance, the kidneys has had a chance. I don't know. I could be a completely different person. Tons of energy. A lust for life. Getting up in the morning and not loathing the sun. You know what I mean? Like, oh, fuck no. You know, we all do it and we all make a joke out of it. On the negative side for me at the moment, which I talked about, is that having to face situations without my comfort blanket, my crutch, my imaginary friend, whatever. So but I suppose the more you do it, the more you'll get used to it. But there it is. I thought I'd put this video out there, warts and all, because at the end of the day, I'm not embarrassed about it. It's just what I am, right? And if people go, oh, you should be embarrassed, well, that's you, innit? Not me. The embarrassing part is if you continue after you realise you've got the problem to do it, that's embarrassing. That's fucking stupid. But if you can work out, as I said before, there was no, this is serious now because you've got a problem. There was none of that, so it's just like, oh, well, fuck it. But now I'm at that stage. So we'll just see. And as I don't know exactly what the serious, or severity, I should say, of my health is, because get a doctor to speak to you, you've got more chance of talking to some cunt on a different planet half the time. So it is what it is, but whatever. So we'll wait and see, and I'll keep you updated. But my Man Up channel is all about facing things in life and dealing with it. So this seemed like the obvious topic. But I didn't want to go into great detail on my main channel because that's more politics, and I don't want it all to be about, oh, poor old me, because it isn't poor old me. I'm okay, and I'll fix this shit, and I'll become a better human out of it, all right? I hope. So anyway, there it is. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well. It has been a long time since I've done a video on here, and I haven't been doing much on the other video because, why is this idiot riding down the road on the wrong side? Not anymore. Because I've just been fucked the whole time, and I've had no enthusiasm to do anything. So I just knocked it on the head like most other things. So there you are. Anyway, upwards, onwards, and all the rest of it. And summer's coming, and that's lush out there at the moment. And apparently Thursday will be nice and warm. So we'll go and enjoy that. Anyway, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.